Bitwit's coverage of CES 2017 is brought to you by Fractal Design, MSI, and CableMod. Check out the links in the description below, or Mariah Carey will sing at your next birthday party.
All right, guys, we're back at the MSI booth checking out their desktop line. These are gaming desktops, and they can be pretty much configured in any way possible to whatever your budget and needs are. So as far as specs go, these are all going to be rocking Skylake chips, Core i7s, I believe. I don't even think there's an option for i5s. I could be wrong on that, though. But as far as graphics, that's again, it's all whatever you want to be configured is up to you. So we're going to start off with the smallest, and we're going to work our way up. This is the Trident 3. And you can see it's very slim. People were calling this or thinking this was a PS4 from far away. I can kind of see why. It stands up vertically. It's got a very slim profile, and MSI is touting this as the slimmest or smallest VR-ready PC that is currently available. And I think that comes from the fact that you can spec this out with either a GTX 1060 or later on the GTX 1070 in the next coming months, and also that there's an HDMI port at the front panel, which makes it a lot easier to access your VR HMD. So definitely GTX 1060 is more than capable to handle VR these days, and you've also got some nice LED accents that is going to be supported with the Mystic Light software that I talked about in the other MSI video that you may or may not have seen. Now on the right side here, you can see that there's ample ventilation going to the video card, and the GPU that they have in here currently is a GTX 1060 6GB version, and it's the shorter version of their gaming series card. So it's actually only got one cooler fan on there, so that's how it's able to fit into this very small form factor here, which is pretty impressive. Let's go ahead and move down to the next one here, which is the Nightblade MI3. Nightblade MI3, this you can see is a little bit more of a standard looking tower. It does have RGB LEDs on the front so that you can configure those any way you want. So again, this is also rocking a Skylake processor. We've got a GTX 1060 in here, 6GB version. And we've also got DDR4 slots, of course, 2 of them, so you can expand it up to 32GB if you so choose. We've got 2 M.2 SSDs as well, with a single 2.5-inch SSD mount if you want to expand the storage on that. There's also 2 slots available for a 3.5-inch hard drive if you really need to bring in extra storage. On this system as well, we get an HDMI front panel port, so if you want to do some VR. You can see that MSI is definitely pushing the whole VR thing with this desktop lineup, which is really nice to see. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the higher end offerings that are actually pretty sweet. Bringing out the big guns, we have the Aegis X3, which is pretty gnarly. It's got, you can see right here, it's got some headphone stands, or some headphone holders, I should say. One on each side, actually, so that's kind of nice depending on which side of the desk you might want to put this on, whichever one's more convenient for you. RGB LEDs right there by the graphics card. You can spec this out up to a GTX 1080, again, fully fledged desktop GPU. No mobile stuff here. That is, it's actually a gaming card in there, probably a Gaming X or maybe a Gaming Z. But that's pretty nice. You've also got HDMI, of course, on the front, at the bottom as well for VR. And kind of a nice looking front here, front panel, again, with the crazy RGBs everywhere. Everywhere you look, there's just lighting. It's just freaking, it's lit. It's lit as lit AF, yo. You've also got a little bit of a see-through window there. It's kind of hard to see from here, but gives you probably a better look at your innards. MSI is also touting their Silent Storm Cooling 3 Pro. So basically what that is the reason why there's a 3 there is they're dividing up their systems into 3 separate chambers. So one for the GPUs, which you can see are mounted vertically, which kind of also puts less resistance on them when you're moving the system around. You've got one for the power supply, which is actually in the bottom. It's a proprietary power supply that's, I believe, 600 watts, 6 or 650, I can't remember which one, but it does stay cool. There's plenty of ventilation underneath, and there's an exhaust ventilation out the back, so that is 80+ gold certified as well. And then you've also got your third chamber, which is on this side, I believe, which is where your motherboard, your CPU go, your RAM, and things like that. Of course, they're using a riser card to get the GPUs at the top there on that separate chamber. But by having all these different chambers, by having 3 separate ones, they can actually kind of target what needs to be cooled in a more effective and efficient way. And last but certainly not least, we have MSI's flagship desktop in this lineup, which is the Aegis Ti3. This thing is an absolute nightmare, in a good way, I should say. It's got, of course, Mystic Light supported RGB LEDs at the front, so you can pretty much trick it out as much as you like. There's also LEDs right underneath the video card, or should I say video cards, because if you take a look at the panel up here, actually I don't want to break it off. It's SLI, it's running SLI. There's two GTX 1080s in here right now, which is just absolute ludicrous speed and whatnot. You've also got plenty of connectivity options. There's two M.2 slots right there, and NVMe of course. You've also got expandable storage, so while you do have two DIMM slots on the opposite side of this case, which I'll show you in a sec, you also get two more SO-DIMM slots for expandable storage up to 64 gigs. So this is definitely for the power users who need that extra horsepower and performance, whether you're gaming or doing some professional work. Power supply is in the bottom once again with plenty of ventilation going in and out. I believe they said 850 watts, don't quote me on that, but I do remember them saying that it was 80+ platinum certified, which is also nice to see. This is also rocking that same Silent Storm Cooling 3 feature where everything is kind of divided up into these sort of compartments. So you've got a chamber here for your two graphics cards. There is a fan at the front. Maybe I'll get some B-roll of that. There's a fan at the front cooling those down. Plus there's exhaust at the top. Looks like there's really ample ventilation all around this guy. Also there's I don't know if this counts as a chamber. I would say the power supply is more so the second chamber in this grouping. And then the third one is off to the side here on the opposite side, which is where your main stuff is in terms of your motherboard, CPU, and your cooling. So this does come stock with an AIO, a 240mm rad in fact, and so you've got plenty of cooling and overclocking potential here on the Z270 platform with that Skylake chip. And it looks pretty damn sexy once everything's all put together. And finally, I can't let you guys forget that this system also has one of those front panel HDMI ports for VR, of course. All right, guys, that is going to wrap it up for my coverage here at the MSI Suite here at CES 2017. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Huge thanks to my sponsors, MSI, naturally, Fractal Design, and CableMod. Be sure to check them all out in my description down below. And stay tuned for more CES coverage here in Las Vegas, Nevada. Have a good one, guys. Peace.